The Chosen Season 6 is going to be done filming in about a week and a half. They don't have much time left, but that being said, they've saved some of the most intense scenes for these last weeks of filming, including the scourging of Jesus.
Imagine a moment on a film set so powerful the director halts everything, not for a mistake, but because what happened felt painfully real. During the filming of The Chosen's most harrowing scene, the cast and crew were left shaken and speechless. What unfolded became more than acting. It was an emotional collision of faith, history, and raw human vulnerability. Filmed in a place steeped in ancient significance, the moment blurred the line between performance and reality, challenging how sacred stories can be portrayed and how deeply truth can resonate through storytelling. The unseen weight of the scene. On the set of The Chosen's Season 6 crucifixion scene, an atmosphere unlike any other took hold, an intensity so powerful that the usual rhythms of filmmaking simply stopped. The cameras were off, yet silence was heavier than any noise before. No director's call or scripted moment could have prepared those present for what unfolded. Instead of actors performing, something deeply raw and authentic sparked a profound stillness that held everyone captive. Jonathan Rumi, portraying Jesus, remained nailed to the cross, not just physically, but emotionally immersed in a way rarely seen on screen. His trembling was more than exhaustion. It was the weight of a truth being lived, not acted. Around him, the cast and crew found themselves overwhelmed, caught between their roles and an undeniable spiritual presence. It was clear that this moment was far beyond the parameters of conventional filming. No rehearsed cues or directions guided what happened next. Tears flowed openly from cast members struggling to contain the flood of emotions welling within them. Elizabeth Tabish, who plays Mary Magdalene, had to step away from the set, overcome by sobs she could not stifle. Those tasked with technical duties, often hardened by years in the industry, stood still, some shedding silent tears. The usual boundaries between performance and reality blurred into nothingness. This was not a spectacle or dramatic display, but something far more profound, a collision where history, faith, and human vulnerability intertwined. Dallas Jenkins, the director, faced an unprecedented moment he later described as sacred, a point where stopping the shoot was the only option. What they had just borne witness to was no longer a scene crafted for entertainment. It was a visceral, living encounter. The silence hung heavy because what was happening could not be framed neatly with dialogue or direction. The energy was electric yet reverent, like a collective breath held in the presence of something holy. This moment challenged every expectation about what filming a biblical scene should look or feel like. It revealed how thin the line can be between storytelling and spiritual experience. In a world increasingly numbed by spectacle, this pause on set unveiled an ancient story's enduring power to pierce through modern hardness. Viewers might have questioned whether such authenticity is possible in filmed media, yet here it was unfolded in living color before an audience of one, those involved in creating The Chosen. The emotions that gripped the people on set spoke volumes without a single scripted word being exchanged. Yet this overwhelming weight was the beginning, not the end, of what The Chosen's crucifixion scene would come to signify. Behind this silent shock lies a deeper truth that challenges not only how the story is told, but why it still matters so profoundly. The unfolding journey would bring clarity to what this moment meant and why it resonates beyond the screen. How did this profound weight come to rest on a film set? And why did this cross once more cease to be a prop and become something far more? The answer begins with where the story was brought to life, a location steeped in history and atmosphere unlike any other. The choice of filming location became a silent but powerful character, shaping everything that happened next. Location as a character. Traveling to Matera, Italy, was no ordinary production decision. It was a deliberate step into a place where every stone seemed to carry the weight of centuries. Known for its ancient stone streets and haunting beauty, Matera had already been immortalized in Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. Its weathered landscape and timeless light created an atmosphere that few studio sets could match. The city's narrow, uneven alleys and cold winds etched realism into every frame. The experience of shooting this location differed completely from the secure atmosphere of a Texas studio. The team from the crew, together with the cast members, encountered weather conditions that changed unexpectedly while experiencing freezing temperatures and strong winds during their nighttime filming. For 2 weeks, they worked in extreme weather conditions while battling exhaustion to film genuine moments. Every footstep on the uneven cobblestones created an echo that carried both ancient grief and ancient hope, reflecting the characters' emotional journey throughout the film. The actors used this environment as their emotional foundation, which especially affected Jonathan Roumie. The elements had full control over his body because he stood outside with no protection, wearing only his underwear and socks. The freezing cold cut through his very being, pushing him and the entire cast into a state of heightened vulnerability that went beyond mere performance. The physical hardship became inseparable from the emotional weight of the scene. The choice was a risky decision. The conditions were extremely difficult to handle, but they created an authentic experience which no designed environment could duplicate. The sound of the wind, together with the texture of the stones, created an essential part of the story, which reminded everyone at the set about the historical truth that the show intended to present. They were not just filming history, they were inhabiting it. The city maintained a quiet atmosphere, which created an atmosphere of deep respect. The limestone walls created shadows that revealed hidden stories of dedication and affection that actors and crew members struggled to handle. The emotional pressure reached such heights for Elizabeth Tabish and others that they needed to leave their posts to regain their emotional stability. The team used Matera as their filming site because it represented their artistic dedication. The location required all individuals to experience the story's suffering and optimism, which resulted in shared moments of deep fatigue and wonder. The crucifixion story exists as an eternal truth that maintains its present-day significance. Amid the cold stones and long nights, the heart of the story beat harder, carried by a Jesus portrayed in a way that shattered traditional molds. The human Jesus reimagined. The Chosen has gained acclaim for introducing a Jesus who is not a distant, perfect statue, but a vividly human person with emotions, flaws, and warmth. From the very beginning, Dallas Jenkins and his team chose to portray Jesus not just as a divine figure, but as someone who laughed with friends, wept at loss, and experienced hunger and fatigue. This approach broke away from centuries of distant reverence. Jonathan Roumie portrays accessibility through his performance, which presents Jesus as a character who can be approached with gentle affection. He listens closely to others while he uses humor to lighten the atmosphere, and he enjoys staying quiet with others during nighttime star observation. The human character representation enables viewers to establish personal connections, which help them experience the biblical story that had previously created distance between themselves and the narrative. The Chosen achieved rapid international success because it became available in multiple languages and reached audiences across almost 200 countries. The series demonstrates Jesus' humanity, which creates an experience that draws audiences closer because they can connect with him. Viewers no longer see an untouchable figure, but a relatable individual who engages deeply with the joys and pains of everyday life. People who had drifted away from faith or never believed now discover his genuine self through his authentic way of living. The audience base understands the vulnerable nature of Jesus through his life, which now serves as the emotional peak for the crucifixion scene in Season 6. The characters now experience situations that have concrete personal consequences instead of facing hypothetical or symbolic challenges. The 6 seasons build to portraying not just the historical event, but the intimate, agonizing last day of a man they've come to know deeply. The portrayal achieves its unique identity because it values accurate representation over the use of exaggerated dramatic elements. The performance avoids melodrama, aiming instead for raw emotion and spiritual depth. The crucifixion presents a direct, unfiltered experience that people can experience through its actual bodily presence. The truthful depiction presents one of history's most depicted moments in a way that generates a new emotional response. The toughness of the environment and the weight of the story were inseparable, pulling everyone into an experience no one on set would forget. The physical and mental toll. Filming the crucifixion scene in Matera was one of the most grueling experiences in the careers of the cast and crew. Nights stretched well beyond midnight, sometimes past 3 in the morning, while temperatures plummeted close to freezing. Everyone on set battled exhaustion and the relentless cold that seeped through every layer of clothing. Jonathan Roumie, portraying Jesus, stood barefoot and half-naked, lashed to the rough wood of the cross, exposed not only to harsh weather, but to physical strain most would find unimaginable. The relentless schedule demanded that continuity be maintained with painstaking precision. Roumie often hung on the cross for hours at a time, enduring the weight and pain necessary to keep the raw emotion consistent from take to take. This was not a moment for stunt doubles or shortcuts. Every detail was lived in real time. The physical agony was compounded by fasting and rigorous prayer beforehand, as Roumie sought to align mind, body, and spirit. More than the cold or fatigue, the actual problem stemmed from psychological challenges. Roumie reached a deep, immersive state of surrender, which brought his character and actor identity into overlap. He did not perform a role, but instead experienced Jesus' suffering and loneliness. The crew experienced the strong impact of this event, which made technicians speak about the strange, silent atmosphere that existed between camera operations. The team stopped their regular joking and conversation to adopt an atmosphere of deep respect, which led to serious thought. The acting method of the performers existed solely to achieve award recognition instead of actual artistic work. The artists demonstrated deep dedication to their craft through acting, which required them to choose between authentic truth and convenient performance. The team accepted physical challenges because they needed them to preserve the genuine experience that Jenkins wanted to create. The performance presented love's true expense, which required actors to completely dedicate themselves to their roles. The cast shared a deep connection to the historical weight and spiritual dedication of their characters' roles. The shoot became a spiritual challenge for both actors and crew members, who experienced extreme physical fatigue and emotional exhaustion. The damage went beyond surface level because it created permanent effects that existed beyond what others could see. The team requested fans to pray for their safety because they wanted to fight against the hidden mental and spiritual struggles that occurred outside public view. The set team members treated the physical discomfort as an ordinary challenge because they believed their suffering served a greater mission. The crew members showed silent respect for Roumie, who remained vulnerable throughout the filming process, which created an atmosphere that held deep significance. The production team created a television show through which they experienced one of the most powerful events that ever occurred in human history. The combination of pain and purpose created a scene that presented an unprecedented experience to viewers in the entertainment industry. The boundary between performance and life was fading, setting the conditions for a transformation so profound it changed everyone present, breaking the boundary between acting and reality. Jonathan Roumie described what happened as a total surrender, a moment when acting gave way to spiritual immersion. This was no longer about memorizing lines or hitting marks. It was about embodying something holy. For hours, Roumie remained nailed to the cross, transcending the scripted role to enter a lived reality that few actors dare approach. His eyes held a depth that made onlookers look away, a gaze weighted with the loneliness, pain, and forgiveness at the heart of the story. This was not method acting for acclaim or artistic accolades. It was reverence expressed through physical and emotional surrender. Unlike famous stories of actors enduring hardship for roles, here the intention was not performance, but authentic representation. Every moment was stripped of artifice. No green screens, no digital effects, only raw elements and raw humanity. Roumie fasted and prayed, carrying the full cost of his portrayal not as a gesture, but as a spiritual offering. The usual separation between actor and character dissolved. The crew noticed the eerie quietude that fell over the set, a silence filled with something more than just waiting for the next take. Even hardened technicians and professionals who had witnessed countless productions found themselves frozen, moved beyond reason by the palpable sacredness in the air. It was a moment none had expected and few could fully explain. Dallas Jenkins himself admitted it was the first time he had ever stopped a shoot, because what he witnessed was no longer a scene to film, but a spiritual event unfolding before him. The collision of art and reality, past and present, script and soul, was unlike anything in his years of directing. This moment redefined filmmaking, proving that a scene could become a spiritual encounter rather than a mere recreation. Roumie's commitment demanded that he discard ego and acting tricks, choosing instead complete vulnerability. This approach exacted a toll on his mental and emotional state, but it also created a bridge for everyone watching. The cross stopped being a prop. It became a mirror, reflecting each person's capacity for love and sacrifice. The energy on set was so intense that the usual buzz of a production gave way to a reverent stillness steeped in awe. This breakthrough shifted the entire production's dynamic. Rather than chasing perfection or spectacle, the focus became truth in its most raw and fragile form. The authenticity radiated from Rumi and reverberated through every crew member, forging a collective experience that none would forget. What was being created was no longer a show, but a living testament. The crucifixion scene became a sacred space where fear, pain, and forgiveness intertwined. It challenged everyone on set to confront the deepest realities of the story and what it meant for their own lives. The boundary between art and life, script and soul, had vanished in the cold stone streets of Matera. This rare collision of acting and reality transformed the shoot into something far greater. A pilgrimage marked not by accolades or applause, but by tears, silence, and the heavy presence of the sacred. It is this transformation that makes The Chosen's portrayal uniquely powerful, and an invitation for viewers to face the cost of true love and sacrifice. The lasting impact and invitation. The exhaustion and relief from finishing the crucifixion scene in Matera left a deeper impression on the crew members who worked on it. The weight of silence created a situation that required everyone to face a question that stayed unspoken. The film shoot ended here, but the audience received a deep invitation to explore the real meaning of love and its corresponding sacrifice. The moment created a permanent impact on many people because it became their sacred mark, which would determine their artistic and faith development throughout their lives. The experience brought major changes to all participants, including both the audience and the performers. The Chosen shows human beings their actual experience with suffering because it forces people to face their deepest problems with human suffering. The story demands that viewers experience the events through their own personal connections instead of watching it from a faraway point. Viewers need to develop their faith and empathy through active involvement because they share in a single human experience. The cast and crew returned from their 3 months of working on the crucifixion because they had experienced personal transformations. The group was divided into 2 sections, as some people used their hands to shake while they prayed, and others held private talks throughout the late-night hours. Jonathan Raumi surrendered his entire being to God because he reached a level of commitment too deep for him to express through words. The entire production process became a pilgrimage experience because the actors shared their personal experiences, which connected them with both their historical work and their fellow actors in ways they never expected. The invitation presents equal difficulty for all viewers. The question challenges us to determine our capacity for truth in personal existence. The world offers us immediate solutions that reduce happiness to digital clicks and provide purpose through short podcasts and deliver love via brief swipes. The desire for authentic relationships that endure through time continues to exist below the visible surface. The situation requires us to experience distressing feelings. The situation creates interruptions because it removes the carefully constructed boundaries that people use to protect themselves. The process of change happens through the experience of uncomfortable situations. The cross story transforms from its historical and symbolic existence into an active present-day invitation that encourages people to deepen their love, live their authentic lives, and give freely because they understand their immense value. The Chosen's current season becomes distinct because it refuses to embrace conventional methods. The crucifixion appears through its stripped presentation because it exists as a ceremonial space where artistic expression combines with actual events to create transformation. The work establishes a connection between different times and states of existence, while connecting its actors with spectators and their experience of suffering with their sense of optimism. This journey behind the scenes of The Chosen's crucifixion reminds us that true artistry and faith demand courage and sacrifice. What unfolded in Matera challenges us to seek authenticity in both storytelling and life. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below, because these conversations matter now more than ever.